Hello and welcome to another open source workplace video. If this is your first time coming across the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted to all upcoming videos. Today I'm very happy to welcome to Open Source Workplace, Jonathon Hensley. Jonathon is the CEO and Chief Creative Officer of Emerge. Jonathon, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful, Stephen. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining me. Now you're joining us from sunny Portland, not rainy Portland these days. So
Sunny today. You never
there
know. It
you
could
go.
change any minute.
No, so how's things for COVID been for you in the Portland area?
Well, I mean, I think it's very similar as many places. I mean, our city and state went into lockdown as quickly as they could, trying to really follow suit from being sandwiched perfectly between Washington, and California. So we followed suit. So things are slowly opening back up, and people are really excited to find some opportunities to get outside again. But there's been a lot of effort to really figure out how to support one another and rebuild community, as this has taken a pretty significant impact on a lot of the local businesses here.
Yeah, yeah. And what's it been like for you and the family personally?
At a personal level, I feel very blessed because we've been fortunate enough to everyone's safe and healthy, but it certainly has had its challenges dealing with that at a personal level. Learning to work from home. I've never really been somebody who's worked from home much. I'm used to traveling quite a bit for work, and having two small children who, not being able to go to school and being able to be outside and be with their friends has certainly been a lot to take on for our family, just like so many others out there. So, we've adjusted and adapted well, I think, under the circumstances. I'm very blessed to have an amazing wife who has been very, very supportive and really taken over a lot of things to make it work for us.
No, that's great, Jonathan. That's great. And so one of the things that I really want to dig into and tuck into with you today is all around leadership, right? You obviously provide resources and help for other companies. So I'm really curious to know from your own perspective, given your experience, where sort of you position yourself and think of leadership and what you think your leadership style is. If you were to define leadership, how would you define that?
Well, that's a great question. I think leadership really is two intersecting qualities in someone. One is the ability to have an incredibly clear focus and vision, and then the ability to bring people from unique backgrounds, disciplines, and skill sets together to achieve that. Really, I'm a big personal believer in servant leadership, that the team that I have built at Emerge, or the teams that we work with, we're there to serve them. As a CEO of a company, I'm there to serve my employees. They are, what makes fulfilling our mission as a company possible. They're the ones that move, the needle every day. My job is to support them. What can I do today to make sure that they're, focused, have clarity of what we're doing, how to navigate the uncertainty that's happening all around us in the world right now, and how are we going to measure success? What are we accountable to? What are those standards? And I think it's essential as a leader to provide that clarity and that focus for an organization and for teams, and really make sure that you're empowering those people to bring their best.
Mm. And you mentioned success. What then do you think what's success for you when you think of leadership?
I think for me personally, success from a leadership perspective is actually being able to see somebody unlock their potential. I think a lot of times when we look at kind of old working models, we work in a factory and it's like, put 4 screws in here. You don't need to worry about what you're building, just those 4 screws, and you put it in again and again and again. And that's not the world we live in anymore. We're asking people to be problem solvers, to be innovators, and to think about how they can help us transform our businesses, no matter what function of the organization they work within. And so we need to empower them with context, and we need to help them, unlock that potential that they bring with that unique life experience and skills that we've hired them to be a part of our organizations, And each individual is also informing the culture of an organization. So making sure that that is nurtured.
And then leadership, leading a team, obviously through COVID, has been somewhat different. I know you had an office, your team was in an office, and now everyone's at home. And how have you found that leadership or your leadership style even change or evolve through the process?
I think some of the things that I miss the most and have had to adapt to is, I miss the water cooler talk, being able to just walk through the office and say hi to somebody and check in. And now, things have to be so much more intentional, right? It's like, well, we're all still trying to be busy and stay focused on getting things done. And we really have to, make that intentional effort as leaders to say, okay, I know I got, 50 things on my to-do list, but I need to pause and I need to make sure I'm still taking the effort to connect with people and to check in of how are they doing. And it can't just be, well, how's that project going? Or how is that task still on track? Those are management things. True leadership, how are they doing? Right. And I think one of the most powerful things that I've really has been reinforced through all of this for me, and also in talking to other business leaders and organizational leaders, is the importance of empathy right now. Leaders have to be connecting and making space to engage their teams with empathy, not bias, not through their lens, not through the lens of the media or anything else that might be coming to them. They need to really engage with people at a one-to-one level, really make sure they feel heard and that they're understood, and that so you can have a much more honest dialogue.
That's fantastic, and I loved how you differentiated between management, leadership, and then also then cultivated that into a thought about empathy. I think empathy leadership is going to be a huge thing going forward. I think it's something we're all learning as employees, as leaders, as managers, as organizations. I think it's a real skill that's being nurtured right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think empathy at corporate level is never been more important than it is right now. I mean, it's something that from the digital transformation and digital product space, we talk about all the time, about customer empathy, about employee empathy, and building better products and service delivery. But I think from a leadership perspective, it's going to take an entirely new area of focus and prioritization for so many organizations, because that extension, I mean, look what we're doing right now. I mean, just through Zoom, I mean, this has been a common tool for so many of us, but to run entire organizations, to run really complex initiatives without that opportunity to potentially travel or get into a room and solve a problem together, empathy to really connect is going to be so important. And I think it's, one of the things that I heard a while ago that it really resonated for me was this idea of, leaders have to step back and stuff, instead of saying, I understand how you feel. That empathy really comes from saying, I want to understand how you feel. And just shifting that little bit of thinking and really coming into, how you approach, your conversations or that connection with people, that is now being fueled so much by technology. That little extra nuance, that detail becomes just invaluable.
Mm. And how do you keep that going? Because obviously with a distributed team now, right? So you were all together, you could keep that, but actually now you're distributed. How do you keep that sort of feeling, that emotion? How do you let your employees, share that, show you that?
Yeah, well, one thing I've done is I've always had an open door policy in the office. I've continued that virtually. So every single person in the company has access to me whenever they want. I reinforce that in every management meeting, every staff meeting, just a reminder, hey, if you have questions, you want to know how the company is doing, you're curious about my perspective on things, you have ideas, just I'm creating as much open space as I possibly can. And I think that's really important. And that's going to be essential because I'm not just laying a foundation to navigate what's happening right now. I'm trying, as a CEO, I'm having to think strategically 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, on things that, none of us can forecast. And so empathy and building trust and honesty with my team is the foundation that I can move and adapt to change quickly with. so it's important that I establish that and let people know that I am available to them.
And has the approach changed since you've went distributed and through COVID? Has, like, when I say changed, like the frequency, the type of questions or what people bring to your attention or come to you for guidance on?
You know, modestly, I would say, the
Mm,
changes are, more to do with, well, what does this mean for the future of the business? And, people, as you would expect, what does this mean for my job? How
mhm,
are we still relevant? And I think other industries are dealing with conversations that are much, much harder. Being in the digital space, technology is, very important for a lot of organizations to navigate these times and to make critical changes. And we have an opportunity to be a really critical partner for a lot of organizations to do that, especially with 22 plus years of digital transformation and product experience. The the difference that I see a lot is actually uh, where I've come to it is instead of just being there for them to ask me questions, what's pivoted a little bit more is they're coming in and sharing with what's happening around them in the world,
mm,
and that's actually been really powerful for me. Um, I've been able to have some deeper connections with some of my team because of that. I'm really working on strengthening my skills as an active listener, not just, putting in the time, but being really thoughtful about the time that I do have with each person when I have it. And I think that has been, become even more of a necessity as we've gone through this. And I'm seeing that that's kind of opening people up because my learning opportunity is incredible from these amazing people.
mhm.
And so by understanding what's going on around them, it's broadening my perspective that I think helps me be a better leader. And so that context is really important. And that has shifted. That I think has become much stronger weighted towards that idea of, and that openness of sharing from others. We've just kind of taken down some of I don't want to say almost like professional, like kind of structure, or maybe sometimes uh, the the challenge that some people have connecting with senior leadership across an organization. I feel like we've all level set, and this
Yeah.
opportunity has just allowed us to we're all on the same playing field here. That has been really powerful. That's been beautiful to see. We've never promoted, anything other than really a flat organizational structure for one team. But this situation has allowed us to work on that a little bit more. Maybe not directly, but certainly it's top of mind for me in all of my engagements with people.
Mm, mm. And I've heard that quite a bit where, those organizations that are large that have big hierarchical structure. I can sort of struggle to say that with my voice and rolling my tongue, but in essence, they've been eliminated almost because of this. Because an individual feels empowered and has the ability to reach out to senior leadership, and senior leadership are actually encouraging it as well. So
Yeah.
I think it is a big thing, and it's great. I'm glad you're doing that. You did mention before, part of your responsibility is to create that vision for the next 6 to 12 months. So as you think about the next 12 months, Jonathan, what sort of things excite you, be it from a personal or from a business perspective?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll start with the second part. I mean, from a business perspective, one of the things that's really exciting for me is in all the conversations I'm having with people, there seems to be a groundswell where there's a lot of leaders right now that are understanding that goals are not strategy, and being focused on organizational and digital strategy for so many years. It's really wonderful to start to see that. And also part of that dialogue is, a lot of people are looking for quick wins, but they realize they can't skip steps anymore, that these times require to do the hard work that maybe during the best of times could wasn't prioritized. And I think that the leaders and the organizations that are doing that are finding that they're going to be able to be more successful, both short term and long term. And that's been really exciting for me. And I'm hoping that will become kind of a seed change for companies as a whole going forward, that they'll understand this a little bit more. It's, put a better lens on, I think, certain out of necessity, even though very difficult necessity. I think that if embraced, that's a huge opportunity for leaders and organizations right now. So for those folks, I'm really seeing, they're really getting clear about diagnosing the problems that they have as an organization, really understanding what unique approach they can do to solve those with their limited resources and maybe other constraints that are taking place. And then really thinking about, okay, how do we cohesively empower every person on the team to move forward? And so that part, it's a very big piece, but that's when you ask, what do I get excited about? That's exciting to me because it's starting to filter out a lot of noise that has been clouding some really critical things and holding back a lot of organizations for a very long time. So that's exciting to me to start to see that conversation is shifting. At a personal level, what I'm really looking forward to seeing is, how technology, being that my background is in technology and, I grew up inspired by seeing how it changed the way people live and work, is to see what innovation will come out of this situation. What will the next year look like as we change our behavior, as our in the way that we think about things. Little examples, when you think about building profiles of customers or something, we'd say like, well, I want an active family that does X, Y, Z. And well, what happens when that family can't be active? How do you connect with them at a deeper level than, some general definition of how they spend time? And I think there's some really interesting things about how that's going to push innovation. And I think you're going to see some amazing things come from individuals, from every area and bigger organizations as well, really introducing some new things that, well, for me, I'll just be like, I can't believe they thought of that. That's brilliant. Where did that come from? And those are the things that excite me. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. I'm an optimist, so I look for the best.
No. I'm the same way, Jonathan. And I was smiling all the way through while you were talking about that because I just see it, right? And we hear some of the really exciting things of the technology advancements that are being made, and we do hear people that things are accelerating. What may have been anticipated to come to the market 23, 24, 25, they're really been accelerated, and I think there's going to be some real game-changing technologies come out over the next 12, 24 months. So yeah, fantastic. Jonathan, thank you. I appreciate you making time. I appreciate you giving your time to speak to Open Source Workplace. And I look forward to chatting with you as we do more of these interviews and hearing your insights as well.
I look forward to it as well. Thank you again so much for having me, Stephen.